Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to our Saturday upgraded commander build video where we're going to be looking at the Tier 9 German fast battle cruiser, the Admiral Schröder. So we'll look at the armor, talk about the ship playstyle, look at the modules, upgrades, and then of course the commander, which we're running Gunther Lutjens on the Schröder. So what type of ship battle cruiser is the Admiral Schröder? She's a brawler. She's meant to get up semi-close and to brawling action. You kind of lack the, well, not kind of, you do lack the trump card of, let's say, torpedo, something like the Aegir has equipped on it. So you have to be mindful of that and respect other brawling ships that may have torpedoes, so on and so forth. But she's definitely all-around brawler. In terms of the artillery, she's got 8 305mm guns, and they have pretty good forward firing angles and rear firing angles as well. Your secondary armament, it consists of 128mm guns and also 150mm guns, these bigger ones up towards the front here, and also the back. It's 3x3, then 10x2. And she's quite the brawling machine. Distant reload time 2.9 seconds and then 5.6 seconds. With the full build that I have for secondaries, so we could shorten that down a little bit more if we would like. But she's very, as we covered in yesterday's video, if you see me playing the ship, live commentary, she's a very tactical brawler. Utilize islands, so on and so forth. So the armor layout, the stern and bow armor is 27mm all around. When you go into the midsection of the ship, a little different. You have the 30mm casemate on the deck, which is nice, have a little bit of extra armor there. Then 90mm on the armor belts, which transcends to 190mm belt here, even including the torpedo protection, and then 27mm on the bottom. So like deep water torpedoes, definitely gonna hurt you for sure there. Even when you're looking at the ship, because her nose is rather large, if you can get into a kiting position, I believe that suits, I mean, most brawling ships, a brawling position suits them much better. Also because you can see it's 27mm bow or stern armor. It's much smaller than the bow, right? So you can get overmatched by the ships that you're going to be facing, the battleships, a good number of them at the tier 9, 10, and super ships. So you just have to be mindful in how you play. And then looking at the Citadel armor, it is above waterline. So you have to be mindful with this ship. You do have a vulnerable broadside. So you really want to always be as angled as much as possible. Only really showing broadside when you're maybe disengaging from a flank, something to that nature and effect. One thing I do need to cover before we close shop here and going to the modules is the gun armor. So 305 on the front, 180 on the top, 180 on the side, 180 there, 180 down here, and the back is 300. So it's the side plating of the guns is most vulnerable on here, and then the top. So you just have to be mindful of that in case the ship decides to run up on you like a Des Moines or something trying to incapacitate your main battery. So in terms of the modules, so there's nothing else to upgrade, research. This ship was a dockyard ship. I wasn't really sure how I felt about the ship, but then once I picked it up and played it, I've been really enjoying it. So with the build I have, a reload time of 15.8 seconds, 180-degree turret traverse time of 24.6 seconds, HE shell damage 3,400, AP shell damage 8,300. I have survivability expert with our commander, so we are running 63,350 hit points. Otherwise, you're beneath 60,000 if you don't take survivability expert. And then moving on to the guns. So the gunfire control system, your main battery firing range is 18.4. Which is just fine. This isn't a long-range battle cruiser. It's meant to play up to the mid-range, and then when the opportunity favors, you push in for the close-range brawling. Especially since your secondaries, which I can pull up again. Our secondary battery range is 10 kilometers. Your concealment is 10.2. So if you have something like top grade gunner, you can make a lot of work out of these guns and the secondaries playing just under that 10 kilometer window when fortune favors you to do so. Propulsion without the ceramic flag, I'll just go ahead and dim out all of these, is 32.5 knots base. With the ceramic flag, boost you up 34.1 knots. And then with your engine boost, this one's a 15% engine boost. This only heightens your speed more, as I'm pulling up my calculator to give you the math. It add over 5 knots. So 34.1 plus 5.1, 39.2 knots, roughly speaking. So that's actually really fast here on the Schröder. So it means you can quickly advance on the flank or quickly disengage if needed. So definitely really good to have here, because it's not typical that the German cruisers, especially the battle cruisers, I would say, have engine boosts. So that's kind of something that we're gaming through on an addition for this ship. In terms of the upgrades, I'm running the main armaments modification 1. This improves the risk of the main battery becoming incapacitated, or reduces that risk, I should say, negative 20%. Main battery startability plus 50%, main battery repair time negative 20%. So this is really good in my opinion to have. Otherwise, we have the auxiliary armaments modification 1, secondary battery survivability plus 100%, A mount survivability plus 100%. So if you wanted to go for the max secondary build on this ship, you want to run the auxiliary armaments modification 1. Just to improve your secondary battery survivability, so that these guns, the secondary battery does not go incapacitated too quickly. So if you want to do full secondary build, this is what I would say, take this. I like these guns a lot. They do really decent damage. And especially, you know, the brawling mode, if let's say you're playing airship escort or what was dirigible derby or brawls, then I can see more of a benefit to running the auxiliary armaments modification 1. Both randoms, it's really hard to say when you're going to have instances that you can engage the enemy in close quarters combat, especially depending upon what maps, if your team's passive, so on and so forth. So overall, I like to lean towards the main armaments modification 1 for this build. For slot 2, if you do not have any coal, what I'd recommend you take is the... what would I say would be the best between these two? I've not had any issues with my engine being knocked out yet. You have the damage control system modification 1, which reduces the risk of catching fire and flooding, negative 5 to negative 3%. Typically on cruisers, I lean more towards the engine room protection, which reduces the risk of your engine and steering gears becoming incapacitated by negative 20%, and then the repair time of the engine steering gears is negative 20%. So it's kind of just draw back and forth, so maybe it's up to you, but I think I would probably still lean towards engine protection. Hydroacoustic search, well, sorry, I just remembered something. You get full duration fires on Schröder, 60 seconds, so maybe actually I would lean towards the damage control system modification 1 if you don't have any coal. If you have coal, you have 2 special upgrades. You have the hydroacoustic search modification 1, consumable action time plus 20%. So increases the action time of this German hydro. That's 6 kilometers for ships, 4 kilometers for torpedoes. So I really like that. I like being able to have that defense skill or that defense upgrade built in, and lengthening that when I am pushing a flank or if I'm dealing with destroyers. Other one really good to have would be the engine boost modification 1, which extends the action time of your engine boost, which this is really good. It's a plus 15%. It's on a plus 8%. So that's quite nice here on the Schröder. So you can lengthen that. So really, I'd say the top 2 choices are these 2. With my playstyle, I just, when I have the opportunity to brawl and push in, I want to be able to utilize my hydroacoustic search, which yesterday's video was really strange because I was playing at basically 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, NA, because I was recording at like 11:30 Norwegian time. So there's only 1 destroyer on the enemy team. So we didn't really have to worry about this too much. So we didn't actually even use our hydroacoustic search once in that battle. So, but that's not normal because you're going to have submarines and stuff. So another reason why I leaned that direction. For the third slot, we have taken the secondary battery modification 1. And our firing range extends by plus 20%. And our maximum secondary battery shell dispersion, negative 20%. So definitely I encourage taking this. Just because being able to have that better shell dispersion vertically and horizontally with the secondaries, as well as extending secondary range out, is kind of what this ship is all about, in my opinion. So definite in favor of that. If you want to go for a main battery build, I'd probably tell you do the aiming systems modification 1. This improves your main battery shell dispersion, -7%. So you're having tighter vertical and tighter horizontal dispersion. So that would run this. If you want to do main battery build, secondary battery build, this. You have decent turret traverse time already, and with how I have the build set up, so I don't really see the need for taking this myself. 4-slot propulsion modification 1 all the way. You have such good speed, particularly with the engine boost, so just being able to accelerate, having that time reduced, engine power when accelerating -50%, is really fantastic in my opinion. So I really go for this, because then you can just be completely avoiding salvos from enemy battleships, avoiding torpedoes. So I really recommend this overall to take. 5th slot, concealment system modification 1. This is what's getting our concealment down to that nice 10.2 kilometer window. I don't really recommend going for a lighthouse build, or you throw away all your concealment on this ship, because it's really nice the fact that your secondaries are 10 kilometers and your concealment is 10.2. So you can really be catching the enemy off guard, and then you're putting damage on them just as they're maybe responding or trying to turn their guns. Excuse me. So I do recommend this tenfold over compared to any of the other ones here. 6th slot. There's 2 really good options here. The first is what I've mounted right now, being the main battery modification 3, which reduces our main battery reload time by -12%. So 15.8 seconds here, and then if you have adrenaline rush, you can be getting down on 15, 14, 13 point some seconds, and then throwing top grade gunner, you can be looking at 13-second reload as an example. Because again, if you're playing the ship more in randoms, you might not always be getting the full benefit out of your secondaries, where you can get benefits more so from your main battery guns. It just depends on the situation, depends on the battle. Because you can have some ship battles with this ship in randoms where you're not able to get your secondaries off at all, where you can have other battles where you actually do. So it's kind of a give or take. You do have a nerf of your main battery traverse speed, which contributes it to being that 24.6 second 180 degree turn time. The other one, if you want to do full secondary build on the 6th slot, would be the auxiliary armaments modification 2. This reduces your secondary battery reload time by -20%. So if I throw this on, right now it's 2.9 seconds for the 128mm guns, 5.6 seconds for the 150mm guns, and you can see if I take that combat signal off, it does reduce in addition to the range. So you could be having a faster secondary reload time. Again, I see more of a use for this if you're playing like airship escorts, if you're playing a brawls type of deal. Maybe even in ranked, possibly. It varies. It depends on how close you get into the enemy team. But again, for randoms and all-around build, I just tend to favor the main battery, because these 305mm guns are pretty decent, especially when you look at their AP values. But if you want to do the full secondary build on Schröder, take auxiliary armaments modification 2, and take the auxiliary armaments modification 1, the 1st and 6th slot. In terms of her consumables, she has a 60-second reload time, cooldown time on her damage control party, only a 5-second action time, so you want to be mindful of when you use the damage control party. With the repair party, I'm trying to remember, we built in to have additional consumables, so we have 4 repair parties. HP per second 316, but if I throw on the India Delta combat signal, it goes up to 380. So I like running this when I'm playing this ship in randoms, ranked, anything competitive with the ship. I don't run them in co-op, because co-op is co-op. Action time 28 seconds, reload time 80 seconds. Engine boost plus 15%, action time 180 seconds. So you could get this over 200 seconds if you decided to go for the engine boost modification 1. I do believe. Reload time 90 seconds, so you're only having to wait a minute and a half for this to come back up off of cooldown, so that's quite nice in my opinion. As we discussed, we can go over 39 knots with full speed built in here. For the hydroacoustic search, it's the German hydroacoustic search, meaning you're detecting enemy ships 6 kilometers out, which is really beneficial for destroyers, as an example, and smoke screens, or even cruisers, like let's say like the Pan-Asian cruisers, as an example. And then the detection of torpedoes 4 kilometers away, so it gives you enough time to be able to try to find a gap window or simply move completely out of the way of the torpedoes. So I really like the hydroacoustic search. It's the German hydro, so that's why that's kind of how the German ships tend to favor. So I built under the hydro. That's what I did more so for this line. Action time 144 seconds, reload time 120 seconds, and you're only going to be able to spot submarines at their maximum depth of 2 kilometers away from your ship. In terms of combat signals, I would run something like this. And this extends our hydro time as well. So then we're up to 158.4 seconds versus the 144 seconds that we had previously. Speed, ramming, reducing the fire, reducing flooding time, mixing secondaries out, taking the Julie Charlie combat signals, so completely eliminating risk of our magazine detonating, and the India Delta combat signal, as I discussed. Now, for the Admiral Schröder, we're running Gunther Lutjens. He is a unique commander. You can pick him up in the armory for 175,000 coal. I picked him up a while ago. Between him and Kuznetsov, these are probably the 2 best commanders to get from the armory. And so I have him. So his talents are main battery loader. So it activates once per battle upon hitting enemy ships 140 times with the main battery shells. A little more difficult, I would say, possibly to do with the Schröder. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's more difficult because of having a longer reload time to other cruisers that have a better reload time, like let's say Hindenburg as an example. But if you activate this talent, it reduces your main battery reload time by negative 7.5 seconds. The other is a secondary battery loader talent. So upon 100 secondary hits on enemy ships, your secondary battery reload time will reduce by negative 15%. So really nice to have. So we didn't activate this talent yesterday. I think we only had over 70 secondary hits. But it's very easy to actually activate this one if you play the ship enough, you get enough secondary hits in. There's the aerial equipment expert. Activates once per battle upon hitting enemy ships 30 times with any aircraft armament. So this is a German aircraft carrier skill. Then there's resilient. So activates upon the spotting of every 3 enemy ships. The talent's action time measured in seconds is equal to the ship's tier. HP per second plus 300. So if you get 3 spotted ribbons, you automatically pop this little resilient talent. So you get it a little bit of heal back. So meaning that 300 times the 9. So 2,700 health, if I did the math right off the top of my head. That's how much health you'll get back if you are able to activate this talent. And then just the personalizations that we have activated here. Now with cruisers, the enhanced skill he has is the Grease the Gears, which you can see I have equipped here on Lutjens for the Schröder. Main battery traverse speed plus 20%, rather than being a plus 15% skill. So that helps with that cost of taking the main battery modification 3 in the 6th slot. So we're kind of making up for that here in addition of having that enhanced skill. So we're getting even a bit more use out of rather than a standard commander. And because it's a premium ship, it doesn't cost anything to train Lutjens on Schröder, because I have Lutjens set up for my Schlieffen battleship with the battleship skills. So I can freely move him around on my premium battleships, or premium German cruiser ships in the game. In terms of 10-point build, I would first recommend getting Grease the Gears for reasons we just discussed. For a 3-point commander, pick up Priority Target. Detection of an indicator additionally shows the number of opponents on the enemy team that are currently aiming at your ship with their main battery guns. Very helpful in being tactical, knowing when you need to disengage, when you need, or it's okay to push, or if you're dealing with another ship and all of a sudden someone's targeting you, but it's not the ship you're fighting. Then you know, and you might need to look out for a cross-map shot or a shot coming over an island from a different direction, as well as if a destroyer is torpedo flashing you. So he's switching between his guns to torpedoes. If you are hunting a destroyer down and you know it's just you and him, gives you a good idea when he's probably dumped those torpedoes into the water, because it'll go from one detected. Then for his 6-point skill, I already had him as a higher point commander when I put him initially on Schröder. Probably I'd say just go ahead and do Adrenaline Rush. So this is improving your reload time of your secondaries for your main battery, and then you get a slight buff to your continuous AA damage. And then for 10-point build, run the Concealment Expert, so then you're getting it down to that 10.2 kilometer. The Concealment, I already talked a little bit about, just really good to have a 10.2, and your secondaries being 10 kilometers. For 13-point build, take Superintendent, so you get the 4th Hydroacoustic Search, the 4th Engine Boost, and the 4th Repair Party. Now you're likely to utilize these as a brawler, particularly between the Repair Party and the Hydroacoustic Search. So definitely run Superintendent, so you're getting good use out of having the additional consumable. So that's a 13-point build, and then for a 17-point build, I would say go ahead and pick up Top Grade Gunner. Has a permanent effect of our secondary battery reload time being negative 10%, so you're seeing that number already reflected into our secondary. So if you were looking during the upgrades part and you're like, wait, that doesn't match mine, it's because of the commander skill here of having that better reload time. That can be activated is increases the main battery reload speed when an enemy ship is within your ship's standard detectability range. That can be even on the other side of an island, and this skill will activate, giving you a negative 80% reload time to your main battery, which I think is really nice and works really well on the Schröder and your brawling German cruisers. So then at 17 points, then for a 20-point commander, pick up Survivability Expert. This is boosting our survivability with a rating of 80 up to 63,350, which is just really nice. Otherwise, as you know, you could pick up heavy AP shells. You're doing slightly more damage with your main battery when you fire AP, but I don't know. It's not really worth it to me. I've been really being a fan of the Survivability Expert on cruisers in the game. Then with 21-point commander, taking the gun feeder, the main battery reload time or switch shell type switching time is negative 40%. So you're switching from AP to high explosive. It's not going to take as long, or if you want to switch while your guns are reloading, it helps. Maybe you come across some destroyers, or your broadside target has now angled away, so then you want to switch to high explosive, maybe get some fire set. So yeah, so that's 21-point commander. I'm running that I like, prefer running on Schröder. This was the build you saw yesterday's video. If I wanted to look at taking another skills, we talked briefly about the heavy AP shells. Let's say if you didn't go for Survivability Expert in the gun feeder and you had 4 points, is one of these skills down here worth it? The outnumbered could be main battery shell dispersion is reduced, and then ship speed plus 8%, which kind of works out decently with the Schröder. However, I like to phrase this skill as the out of position skill, not outnumbered, but out of position. So it just means you're overextended. There's more enemy ships around you. You're further away from your team, because that's how the skill works. The skill kicks in once you use more enemy ships closer to you than you do have allies. And I think running this outnumbered skill probably only works for more higher skill floor players. And it can be activated skill, so it means you might not always get the use out of it, where these two, you definitely are going to utilize those well. So yeah, so if you have a question regarding another skill that I didn't cover, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're running on your Schröder, because I know there's a couple of you that are very much fans of this ship. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.